seen a troop carrier that I'm interested in now. It's not like the troop carrier that I lost during the Christmas storm. It's an older one, but it's in Lismore. So we're just sitting out on a road trip to Lismore, which is about 2.5 hours away. I don't know who it was that said never work with children or animals, but I think it might have been someone who owned a dog very like Millie, because I just shot that about 4 or 5 times, and every time I tried to set it up, guess who appeared in the picture? Anyway, photo bomber. Now, I did buy it. Let's take a walk around it. Now I have to admit that it's that whole thing was actually staged, because I did buy it a couple of weeks back, and the weather or whatever it is has been pretty miserable, so I didn't get to take any footage at the time. But it's a 1992 Land Cruiser troop carrier, HZ engine, 75 series. The old one that I had was a 78, and that had the V8. Now this has a straight 6 diesel, and it's actually pretty good condition. It has some rust, because naturally it's a troop carrier and they all do. You can see it there in the windscreen rubber, but I've removed this panel, and I'll get to that in a moment, and there's really nothing underneath there, and that's often where they do go, because water just sits in here. Water and leaves and dirt sit in here and it rushes through, but it's actually pretty clean. There is surface rust around things like that rubber. There's spots of surface rust, but all that can be treated and then painted, and I may do some of that. It just depends on what the plans are. There's rust in that window frame. This rear door is buggered completely. It's probably snapped off pretty well all the way there, and buckled. I don't know whether you can see in there, but buckled and twisted. It looks as if something's maybe taken a hit in the rear and pushed that whole wheel and wheel carrier into the car. It's got, I'll just pop back here for a minute, some damage here, and the seller told me that that was actually a wheel that let go and whacked it. So what's probably happened is it's been caved in, and then they've poked a block of wood or something down there to pop it back out again and done that damage. Once again though, these are things that you can take advantage of. Then there's oh, we covered that. Then there's a little bit of rust up here, but that appears to in fact be repaired previously and it's bubbling. Now that bubbling may look innocent enough, but sometimes that goes all the way through. But I'll show you something soon, and we can maybe put that to good use. But overall, it's actually in pretty good condition. Let me fire it up for you. The bonnet's about half the weight of the old 78. I shouldn't say old because it was newer, but old one that I had, that is, because it was a V8 and it had the bonnet scoop in here, and that added mightily to the weight. This is the straight 6 diesel HZ, and she's done 600,000 Ks, but is still very, very good, as you'll see. There's a dual battery setup, but I've actually removed one of the batteries, tucked the wires in that little tub back there, and I'll explain why I've done that in a moment. She runs pretty well, and now I mentioned that I'd taken out this second battery and also removed this panel from here, and the reason for that is that the aerial, which was there, was busted off. So all there was just the base of the telescopic part, but it had rusted solid. Obviously been like that for a while, and had one of those coat hanger aerials in it, which didn't seem to work at all. Anyway, I managed to get that out basically by twisting it until the wire and shaft broke. Then I could pull it out, and then the bottom just fell out the bottom. But in order to get to it, I needed to see if I could get to it from above through this panel, and while I kind of can, it hasn't helped me much, but it did give me an opportunity to take a look at that and clean it out. But by removing the battery, I can kind of get to the inside through that opening in the inner panel. But the issue is that there's a broken cable in there, and we'll see if we can extract that, because that's the only way we're going to pull a new cable through, is by taping them together and then pulling it through. So that'll be one of the jobs. Now the other job was the ignition switch, and the keys are really badly worn. You can imagine after 32 years, 600,000 Ks, so how many insertions in the slot. Anyway, they got stuck, and so I had to take the shroud off so I could get to this little pin, which is right in there. You may not be able to see it, but right there. And then when this is in the accessory position, you can depress that pin and the barrel pulls out. Then I can take the barrel and the key along to a locksmith. But what I do need is also this barrel here, because this one, as I understand it, contains the code. From that, of course, then they can recode the whole shooting box, so to speak. The seats are in remarkably good condition, as is the floor. I mean, you can't see under here, but you can sort of lift this up and see that the floor's not too bad. But of course we wouldn't really know how bad it is until we pull out all of these mats. The seats are actually pretty good, given its age. Normally seats will wear here, where that seat cover has some big bums getting in and out. But it's in pretty good condition. It's got a overhead locker / compartment, It has curtains all around from when someone's been camping in it. It has the fly screens on it and a shelving system which and a creaky door, which has these little boxes in here for stowage. Put a mattress on top. That's that panel there, by the way. And I don't know, stow your goods, surfboard, luggage, etc. underneath. A little drop down table, crude but effective. You'll recall from my other Troopy how I had one which I built, which was, let's say, in better condition, but it did the same job. So what do you actually need? Anyway, I'm looking forward to doing some work. I think it's basically a good structure, and there's no reason why I need the extra power that the V8 had, extra speed, etc., but I mean, why the hell would you buy a vehicle like this anyway? It's not so you can go in races. And it gets along quite nicely, you know, 100, 110 on the highway is fine, but it is defeated by hills. So it certainly slows down when you hit that point. I mentioned that this door, this barn door, had probably cracked, and here's the evidence of that. Here on the inside it's been welded, but not only that, the hinges have sagged, so this might well be new or replacement door for added peace of mind. It has a roof rack. It's a custom made. I think it looks as if it was probably a tradies vehicle initially, and the person I bought it from got it from his dad, and I think he said his dad was a chippy. The chippy obviously built all of this stuff inside, and then the son, not necessarily a chippy but more of a camper, you know, put the curtains in and then also put up this awning, which is a 270-degree swing out awning. I'll show you that. Okay, we've got it sussed. The antenna, which is this here, runs through there. Now it runs down in that direction, is very, very hard to pick up, but what we have managed to do is to find it at the other end where it snapped off and pull it through. So this is the end of it, and it's a matter now of taping the new antenna cable to it and dragging it back through that hole. And in terms of the aerial, if we poke this wire through here, it comes out in here. I'm not sure whether you can see that or not, but in there. So it's a simple matter of poking it back up that way, like so. So I reckon we can put an antenna on it, as in replace the antenna. Now I don't know whether the radio works or not, because without an antenna, of course, it was impossible to say, but what I do know is that it wasn't turning off when the car was turning off, and so it's actually flattened the reserve battery, so it's obviously connected to the reserve battery. This is it here on charge. Let's just check that voltage, 13.08. Hope you can see that. But that's because it's only just come off the charger. It'll probably settle back to about 12.8. So it's now fully charged and can go back in once we've worked out how to put the radio somewhere so that when you turn the key off, the radio goes off. That's about it for now. I just wanted to introduce you to the new Troopy and follow along on the journey. I haven't forgotten the bus, but I guess I just got a little carried away after losing the other ones, so decided that I was going to pick myself one up, and this was cheap. Like, this was really cheap to buy, and so I'm very, very keen on getting stuck in and doing a few things, and you don't have to spend a lot of money. I mean, you know, clearly a bit of you know, panel replacement, let's say for example a door, this rear door. But the other thing I wanted to show you just before I wrap up was in here original seats. So that's the 3/4 bench seat that came with it, and that's the second row of seats, which is a 3-seater that also came with it, but these have been removed and it basically put in storage when this shelf went in. And the seat that's in here, that is in the passenger seat, is a bucket. So I have no idea what this and the driver's seat came out of, because naturally they're a different fabric. That's a vinyl seat compared to what the original fabric seat was, which would have been like that. Now the other thing I did want to show you, as I said, was this. Now I've never done any welding. Well, that's not entirely true, but it's been a long time since I did, and so I've picked myself up a pretty basic MIG TIG stick welder, Unimig, very, very basic welding helmet and pair of gloves, a few accessories. I did do some stick welding, but I'm talking 40 years ago or even more possibly. And look, I don't think it was particularly hard, but then, you know, when you're 20, nothing's hard. You just get stuck in and do it. But we'll explore that together. Thanks for watching, and I've got a few more videos to make, including the recovery of the Troopy. I haven't finished that one off yet. I just remembered I've got another thing to do, and we did talk about this before it slipped my mind as Alzheimer's disease set in, and that is that we wanted to try and get that barrel out of the driver's door, and I'll show you how we do that. So these are not nearly as difficult as you might think. You really only need a you know, some clip tools and a screwdriver. First of all, it's this. There's two little covers on here that you need to pry off. Two Phillips screws. This has a Phillips screw on it, there, and this is definitely designed to fool the unwary, because it has to slide that way, and then it just pops right out. Then there's a little tiny clip at the back that you need to remove. I don't know if you can see that in there, but it's right there. And I'll just grab a little screwdriver, pop that out. Like so. Pop that out, and that just drops out from under it. That's just designed to lock that link in place. Now there's a bunch of clips around here, and there's also the handle, but we may not necessarily need to take this off just yet, because these are held on with what's called a Jesus clip. I actually don't know what the real name for them is, but the reason they're called a Jesus clip is because when they come out, they rip around the workshop and you say, Jesus, where did that go? So we may be doomed having to take out the Jesus clip. And look, there's a couple of ways of doing this. You know, one is having the right tool, but who's got time for that? The other is to wrap a rag around it and see if you can pop it out with a rag. So there it is. That's the Jesus clip that sails away. There we go. Now this is the basically waterproofing, really, as crude as it seems. But if water comes in through the window rather than dribbling out of here, it supposedly get trapped in there and then drips out of the drain holes. But of course over time what happens is people remove this, so we might look at replacing that. We might also look at some soundproofing. Now to the difficult part, and that is to see if we can get to the lock easily. So it doesn't look too difficult. There's another of those, you can see it right there. Another of those clips, that's orange in that one. And that's like a slide circlip, I suppose is the best way of describing it. And then the whole barrel should actually just pop out. That's the door key barrel, by the way, out. But we've got to take the ignition barrel out, and I'll show you how simple that actually is. Naturally you have to have removed the cowling, which is the top and bottom, and it's only I think half a dozen screws max. But to get this out, this key has to be in the accessory position. Then with something, this screwdriver will probably do the trick. If not, we'll find something else. There's a little pin just there. So if you push that pin in here, you can just pull the barrel straight out. That's the pin they're talking about. They're actually depressing to take it out, and of course obviously to push it back in again you have to depress that as you slide it back in. So we can take this small collection of ignition barrel and door key barrel to the locksmith, and we ought to be able to give us a perfect selection of keys. Job done. Now it really is time for a cuppa. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.
Hilly and me are going to have another cup of tea, and what do you think, lad? What do you think of the new one?